Hey, my beautiful souls. Welcome to the Spacious Sarah podcast. I am on a mission to bring back the lost art of meaningful conversations that touches our heart and expand our perspectives. My intention is to create a space where you feel seen, heard, and loved. Each episode is crafted to hold that space, allowing you to open up and explore thoughts and ideas in a safe environment. So, grab your imaginary marshmallows, find a cozy spot under the sky full of stars, and join me in these campfire worthy conversations as I take you on a journey to places you've never been and spark conversations you've never had before. Let's go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Spacious Sarah podcast. With me today, I have Sandhya. Hi, Sandhya.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you. So happy to be here.
I'm glad that you're here with me today. So I'd like to start with asking you this question: what brings you joy?
Oh my gosh, what brings me joy? Being with celebrating life with people. I got to experience this when I was in a Osho center. This is during lockdown. I had gone for a group therapy and the lockdown happened. And this is in India, right? And I was like, wow, this is an opportunity. Maybe this is what I'm meant to be and things like that. So I stayed on. There was a group of us and we sort of hung out together, did meditations together. And the best thing about Osho meditations are it's active. So there's dance and there's movements and then there was time spent talking to people, sharing stories and whatever not. And I felt that 1 year I spent there was it was just a revelation saying that it's like, oh my God, we go on through life thinking that this brings us joy, that things brings us joy and whatever brings us joy. But constantly it was just sitting with myself and being with myself and having the time to spend with like-minded people and dancing. Oh my God, that is my that's one of my joys. It's like dancing with a group of people and just things. So I'm just going around starting to look for things, and then I love sometimes someone calls okay, let's go for this group act or this performance or whatever. So I'm very arty-farty person. I'll go for arts. I'll dabble. I try to go for arts classes. I went for a pottery class the other day and things like that. So things, and also spending time with, I've got two sons. They're both early 20s. And it's such a joy being with them because they really put me down to earth. No, it's like sometimes I get that loftiness. Oh no, this, and they're like, yeah, mama, sure, yeah. So, and spending time with people who you kind of vibe with. And that's sort of wow, I can feel there's such a big expansion and just so much of joy, just sharing and also listening to others, to holding space for others to share what they're going through, what they have gone through. And I feel this is so much more than, I'm okay, this is what I bought and this is, look at this stuff and everything. It's done there, been there. That's it. This is life how it's just even the smallest thing, like cooking your own food and just, oh my God, I'll just put it in front of me and just taking the smell and just eating it is oh wow. That's the little joys of life and everything. It's everywhere. It's only up to us to see it. Yeah. So basically that's in a nutshell. Oh my God, I can go on and
I know.
I'm such an explorer. It's I think it's part of my nature. I just like to go out and explore, try something new. This is something new for me. This is my first time ever being on a podcast. So I'm like, wow, okay, something.
You're doing an amazing job. I can see the light literally glowing in your eyes talking about the things that brings you joy.
Yeah.
So I love asking this question because
you can see the people who has done the work, the difference between them and the people who just go through life as, like as if everything happens to them,
Yeah.
like the victim kind. So you can see the difference on how those people answer and how, people who have done the work, they answer very differently. And I really like the fact that you said one of your earliest one was being with myself. I think that's no one can take that away from us.
Yeah.
Like just being with ourselves. So thanks for sharing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you. So you touched on it, and I'm glad that I actually had those questions on my head as well. So what are you exploring right now as a life explorer?
Okay. I love going into new things. So whatever, but I'm also on the spiritual path. So I've been doing it for the last 13 years or so. So I touched energy healing. I've tried being in groups and workshops of doing other energy work and things like that. So each time I learn something and then I share it with people and I share this is what I've gone through, my experiences of it. And then all of a sudden I will move away from it. It's like, okay, it's done and dusted kind of thing. And it used to like, it frightened me because what we were brought up with, no, you studied this, you have to follow this and whatever. But I'm here, it's like, isn't this what life is about? Come on, you can't go eating sambar rice every day kind of stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
like if the opportunity comes along and something sparks my interest, something sparks my curiosity, and I'm like thinking, okay, how can I explore this and things like that? So going into meditation and going into also exploring about Osho's teachings and all that, that came only about 5 years, 6 years ago. That's when I received Sandhya is my Sanya's name, my spiritual name.
What's I'm sorry, what's Osho?
Spiritual guru who back he developed very science-based meditations because he said the modern human being can't sit still. You ask them to meditate because the mind is like going, rushing through. You got so many things, the stress of life. So what he always recommended was movement first. It was always, there's one that is amazing meditation that we do it every morning. It starts at 7 for an hour. So it's called dynamic. So you have this fast breathing to really flood the oxygen. Then goes for 10 minutes. Another 10 minutes catharsis. Catharsis, like you scream, you yell, you whack the pillow, you do whatever that counts in, but you got to move. And then there's the third part where you actually jump and activate the root center, your sex center, so the energy flows upwards. And then after that is stillness. You just 15 minutes of like, oh, okay. You just, and then allowing that energy. I did it for almost a year of that. And it was like mind blowing, because then I could go and do silent sitting for more than an hour. I could actually sit and just be with myself because all that junk, all those emotions, all those suppressed, everything just came out of that meditation. So for me, his meditations are like, it's all science based. It's to allow you to actually come back to your essence, get rid of all these layers that the society has taught you, whatever you've learned from whoever's around you and everything. So there was a lot of unlearning when I was there for a year. So I'm like sitting there crying away and thinking like, oh my God, this is what I've been doing. And I was thinking like, oh my God, what have I been sharing with people? What have I been sharing with my sons and things like that, Then I had to accept the fact that's the past. That's what I had to learn, what I had to go through. Let's move forward with it. So that's why I'm very excited when I'm very openly, I would say I'm an Osho follower because a lot of people would think of him as a sex guru. But when you go into his teachings, it's so beautiful. It's not religious, nothing. It's all about coming back to yourself, knowing yourself, loving yourself, and then go out there and share your love. Then it's genuine. Then it's coming seriously from a space where you don't know. It's like, wow, kind of thing. So that's how for me it was like I look at the meditations and oh my God.
I want to ask you this question. What's your perspective on spirituality? Like, how would you define spiritual? Because I think many people think that spirituality is a woo-woo thing. I'm a super spiritual person. I'm never a religious person. So people think that spirituality, it's like some woo-woo kind of thing. It's not. They think meditation, they think yoga, religious stuff. It's not. It's science.
Yes.
So I want someone else who, to actually explain what is spirituality in your perspective.
Okay. In my perspective, spirituality is actually the journey coming back to yourself. It's for me, it's all about that. Yes, I'm a very practical person. I'm like, yes, I believe in the unknown. I believe in the mysteries and everything. But there's also that practical part of me. So I recognize like the new term nowadays is like the pseudo spiritualist and everything. Like, of course, there's dark side to everything. So for me, if a person is on the spiritual path, oh my God, it's like I can't even actually tell them exactly what, because it has to be experienced by each person. But what I would really, really hope for everyone is like to really follow their guts, their intuition, because that is the biggest positive that leads you into a space where I don't know, being spiritual is just being you.
Yeah, it's coming back home, coming back to yourself.
Exactly.
Me and my sister, so my family, there's only two of us, me and my sister, and we are the total opposite, total polarity, the both of us. She's like the gonna climb the corporate ladder, build a family, and it's always just going and going and going. I'm like the super chill, laid back, the black sheep of the family. And I always tell my sister, why don't you start meditating? She's like, oh, it's not my time yet. I'm like, what do you mean it's not your time yet? It's nothing spirit. It's nothing. Even if you're not spiritual and you're religious, you still can meditate. Even if you're an atheist, you still can meditate because it's science-based. It's just practically sitting down with yourself and your thoughts and just letting your thoughts just come and go and just purely observing the monkey chatter in your brain. That's all. And she always thinks like I'm this spiritual woo-woo person. I'm like, no. It's like really being able to sit with yourself and your thoughts, because trust me, most people can't do that.
No, they can't.
They can't do that.
You're so right. The moment I say it's like, like people say, oh my God, I've got this. I said, the solution to all problems is meditation. And they're like, what? I can't sit down. I said, who told you to sit? Who told you to sit? Even if you're doing something, if you bring so much of mindfulness, you bring a lot of awareness, right? Into anything that you do. And they're like, and then it's like I say, okay. But I find that a lot of times it's the ones who need some sort of like guidance. They sort of like gravitate. I have not come across many people who would like, oh, this is like such a woo. I think after doing so much of work, a lot of people would just sort of like, they're sort of like, okay, this is a strange one. Let's stay away.
Yeah, it's so true, because even in science, right, they say that we are all energy.
Yeah.
And like energy vibrates, like we all vibrate at a frequency, right?
Yeah.
So if something doesn't match your vibration, you automatically you will not attract that person.
Exactly.
Right? But it also, again, life is all about polarity. And then you have people who wonders like, why is this always happening to me? Dude, you're always thinking of the bad stuff. You're always anticipating the worst. Obviously, you are gonna experience the worst.
Yeah.
Right? You can't like order fried rice and then expect like fried noodles to come, right? It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
People just don't understand that.
Yeah, they don't understand the energy of as much as, my goodness, like the information that we have access to. It's huge. I mean, I'm a Gen X. It's like we lived without internet, and now you have this internet. And now I'm looking at internet and looking at people creating stuff that is like mind blowing. It's like, my God, dude, use your creativity for something else. But okay. These people are like, okay, they have their own ways. What I found with the whole thing recently was like I started looking at human design, and I started studying about my own human design and what happens. Then I understood so well that I can't say anything to people because it's not received well. So even though it's like I had to literally bite my tongue sometimes, I just have to keep. But then when someone asks me, whoa,
Yeah.
it's like a huge, like, it's just that information that I'm sharing, whatever that resonates with them, they'll take it. And it works, I think, for me as well, like what sparks joy in me. And then it sort of like builds up and I can talk about it. I can share my experiences about it. You ask me to talk about algebra or whatever it is, I'm like, don't even like go there.
Not a technical person. So are you because I had someone who did my human design as well. I was a little bit skeptical at first because it almost seems like numerology where, oh, so this is how you're born, so this is how you should be. So I'm a rebel. So I was a bit skeptical until she did the debrief and she started explaining more. And I think I can't remember what am I think 2-6 or 2-4, something like that. I think a manifestor generator, something like that.
Okay.
And she said that your kind of like your spirit, you don't chase, you attract.
Yes.
So you don't go out and put yourself out there, you would naturally attract the things that are good to you. So I kind of start listening to that and I stopped like going and, because my intention is to help.
Yes.
That is my intention. But it's being perceived as something else, right? Wrongly. So when as you were talking, it makes sense to me. Like when I just sit still and just be in my vibe, my vibration, the right people actually naturally flow into my life.
Yes. Especially if you're 2 or 4, it's like that number. Like I'm a 1 and 3. So
Right.
1 is a researcher. I will just jump into something and like start studying and get so interested. And then 3 is, even if you tell me something is not right, I can't just take it in. I have to go and experience it. And for me, it's like the more I experience it, the more I share what has been experienced. That would help others to say like, okay, maybe we may not go this part, we may go that. It all depends on that. And I'm a generator, so we're like the ones who go into a party and sort of like, hype up everybody to dance or whatever. Now that is if I am doing something that sparks my joy. Yeah, it wasn't, oh my God, I had 9-to-5 jobs that literally killed my light. It's like soul draining and whatever not. I just, no, I know that's this like certain 9-to-5 jobs, corporate jobs, some things that really suck the soul out of you. Is like, no, definitely it wasn't for me at all. So
that's gonna be my next question, actually.
Okay.
So let's talk about labels. As women, especially the Indian society, right? We all being brought up with labels. I'm just so thankful and privileged, I would say, in a sense, like I never struggled with that labels, like having labels in my family at least, because we are both girls. Our parents brought us up in a way as, if anything a boy can do, you can do too. So me and my sister have always been fearless. Like we don't give a damn because we had to do boys' job. We had to, if we can't fix the car, we got to fix ourselves. If the car's not working, something's not working, we got to get the work done, right?
Exactly.
So like for you, what were some of the labels that were put on you as a child, as a young adult, or a girl or a woman when you were growing up or throughout your life? What kind of labels?
It's okay. I wouldn't say labels because I don't think there were much. Like there were 3. Like for me, my siblings, like I've got an older brother and 2 younger sisters. So of course the attention was. I noticed that a lot of attention was on the boy, of course, but that's because my father passed away quite early in life. Like we were all very young and he passed away. So of course that responsibility goes on to my brother. But then the thing is, with us, with girls, I realized there was this tendency of, oh, as a woman, you are nothing without a man. It's that I didn't get it hurt, but that vibe was there because I saw it with my mom, kind of thing. And then the time, it's like, if when you're not fully like highly educated, for them it's like, then I realized that, wow, but so many other women, they don't have to be so highly educated, but they had this entrepreneurship, it's like they'll just go out there and create something and whatever not. So, and that part of me I didn't get to see, sort of like look at that and say, wow, this is a possibility. Everything was one track. Go and do well in school, get a university degree, then get married, have kids, and that's it. I said, have kids, then what happens after that?
Exactly.
It's like, and then I was like questioning. I was just questioning, but then after that, it was like in my 20s and all that. I was like living on my own. I had like started working. The money was pittance, but I was having fun. I was meeting people, and it was like being in KL. I'm a small town girl. KL is like, wow, partying away and kind of stuff, and meeting really nice, good people. And then, of course, the fact that it will come up like, okay, getting married, or getting married. But that was not very pushed on, because if I look at all the huge family, the extended family side and everything, some cousins never got married. Some cousins, stayed. So we were very mishmash. Religion wasn't a big thing. It was like something that we needed to do, but it's like blind leading the blind kind of thing. My mom didn't know much. Her mom didn't teach much. And I'm like asking her, what are we reciting? No, you're just reciting. Questions were not entertained quite a lot. And I can understand it's that generation. But then, yeah, so I came from this family where the foundation was, looking at it at a hindsight, I find that a lot of things allowed me to be who I wanted to be. It could have gone that way, like looking at the foundation. But of course, it took me a very long time before I realized, wow, this was the possibility for me, to expand and do something else. And yeah, I studied hard and everything, but I never got into university as usual, public universities and everything. It's not that easy for especially Indians. And so I did something else. I did secretarialship. I did administrative management, which is my forte. I love organizing stuff. I love being in a place where everything is like, okay, this is how it works. That's how my brain works, kind of thing. And that worked really well when I got married and we traveled. We lived in different countries. And the boys were like the focus. Like I was a total stay-at-home mom, and I got involved with school stuff and whatever not. And then sort of like, it was okay, but still there was something missing. Something that was missing, because we were always told that a stay-at-home mom has no value at all. So that's the impression given by sometimes the previous generation as well, and also the current generation and the workforce and whatever not. It's like, oh, a stay-at-home mom has like very little value. But look at it now, my God.
Exactly. How about a stay-at-home mom takes a day off, completely don't do anything? Then they will know the value. They are undervalued. I would say that stay-at-home moms, they are so undervalued.
Yeah,
super undervalued.
Yeah, because it's like, it's just how the society had come about. It's like always putting everyone a pedestal for those people who are like sacrificing everything for the sake of the company, whatever work and things like that. I say, whatever rocks, sort of like whatever lights your fire. To me, I look at the women nowadays, go and do something that lights your fire. Just go and do that. But at that time, I felt so privileged to be able to be a stay-at-home mom. For me, it was like, I didn't have the headache of thinking, oh, I got to go to work, and then I got to think about these two kids. I didn't have to think. So I didn't have to juggle all that. So my attention was totally on creating a home and uh, having a space for my two sons, and especially living in different countries, and you have different issues to work on and different things to do and different things to think about and everything. So I felt like that was my biggest thing back from being a stay-at-home mom. And now that when I look at my relationship with my two sons, I'm like, oh, I am so happy. I am like so glad that I had really given that time, yeah, to them and everything. So that's how. But the labels, yeah,
I think it's pretty common, but I think society is also changing over time,
yeah,
especially in today's age with the internet and all that. I think people are really evolving mentally as well. Um, yeah. So I want to ask you, um, I think people in general, be it men or women, because I do not want to generalize, or,
yeah,
So pe- men or women in relationships, they stay in relationships for the wrong reasons. And many people think that it's easy for the person who chooses to walk away, leaving the broken pieces apart, which is not true. I think it takes a lot and a lot of guts for someone, a lot of guts and courage for someone to actually pick up the broken pieces
Yeah.
while it's still hurting, their hands are bleeding,
Yeah.
and just putting it aside and carving a path for them, a new path, unknown and all.
Yeah.
You said that it was your spiritual practices that gave you the courage to actually leave a marriage after 20 years.
Yeah.
When did you realize that your marriage was no longer serving you, and that you just had to do something for once, probably for the first time in your life, for yourself and no one else? When did you have that awareness?
Oh, this was definitely so clear. It was Christmas 2015. Um, there was something like we had a dinner and we had cousins over and all that. And my ex during that time, from the period of 2013, if I'm not mistaken, like he had gone off and started working abroad on his own, and I stayed back with the boys in Malaysia. So we already started having that living apart arrangements and everything. And that's when I started going into like spiritual practices, meeting groups and everything. And there was always that question, like no one had ever asked me the question. They would this particular spiritual teacher I had, and I'm very grateful for him. He asked me, it's like, what is the worst that can happen if you leave this marriage?
My favorite question.
Yeah, what is the worst that can happen? And for me, I think the main thing was that I was not working. So I did not have like a nest separately. And I'm not the type of that. There are those kind of, sometimes there are some people who sort of like put away something secretly. I never believed in that. So we always shared, like there was joint accounts and finances. I would be in charge of finances because I could keep track of money quite well. So, and for me, I felt like, okay, that couldn't, but also that my son were quite young. But then when I realized like the relationship with the father and the sons, it's between them. I kept protecting my sons, and then I came to a stage where I'm actually hindering their growth. It's their karma. They have to go through that relationship with their father, and I need to go on and move forward with what I need to do. So that particular Christmas, and there was something that happened, and my ex started complaining and started saying a lot of things. I just sat there and just looked at him. I just don't want to be married to you anymore because I had enough. It was, I just felt like I kept on taking a lot of things which he was unhappy about. And I'm thinking like, oh, I got to be here saving the marriage and putting like so much of effort. So the moment I started checking out the whole dynamic of the relationship, so different. Like I was so shocked that I could actually look at it and say, I could actually step away and say, I'm not, what I was feeling was, I don't know whether, it was definitely not shock, but I was so ready. it was like I was so ready to walk away, and I trusted that the universe would support me. That whatever it is that I need for me to move forward would just come to me. So I never demanded how much I wanted or whatever not. And my ex just sort of like financially gave me what he felt that it was needed. And I'm like, okay, thank you. It was enough for me to just like go on, pursue what I need to pursue. And of course, the day that it came to, but it took him 2 years. It took him 2 years before he decided like, okay, let's go through with the divorce and everything. And when the divorce, like when you sign the papers at the lawyers, right? I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is 2 years after we had that conversation and we decided to go through with the divorce. And I'm sitting there and looking at the paper. It does feel it's like it's grief.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right? Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's huge grief. But I had so much like, there was so much of like support, not only physically, but I felt more from, whatever divine guides I had, whoever it is, that was giving me strength. And I felt like maybe these are like ancestors, those female lineage, the maternal lineage, whatever it is. They were just sort of like, you can do this. We couldn't do it. You can do it, And if anyone asks me, why did you get divorced? I can't really say pinpoint because there was no affairs, no abuse, no nothing. It's just that the path of just went total opposite.
But at that point of time, he was still living abroad.
Yes, he was still living. Yeah, that's the thing. So my ex is brilliant at his work. He is amazing at his work and everything. So that's what I think people were shocked was because they felt like you're walking away from comfort, ease, it's like, this expat lifestyle and whatever, these travels and all that. But for me, how can I felt like I was not being true to myself and I was not being true to him because my heart was leading into a different space already, like this part of spirituality to find something, to find me. I got completely lost in the marriage as well. You lose.
That was going to be my question actually, because I wanted to ask you did it come to a point where you lost yourself? Because I experienced that.
Yeah.
It came to a point where you endured so much in a relationship. You gave so much. You're such a giver that you give. And it came to a point where you wake up one day and you're like, oh my God, who the hell am I? Like you can't recognize yourself anymore because your identity was completely stripped off away from you very unconsciously over the years. And these are not things that happens overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It's compounded, and then one day you just wake up, like what you said in 2015. I clearly remember this happened.
Yeah, it's you totally lose yourself in the whole relationship because it's like what we were taught in that generation, in our generation, from past generation, it's like just adjust. Anything that comes up, just adjust. I mean, you see the red flags in our relationship early on. Red flags are all there.
I always say this. I said this before. Like, we go through our life collecting yellow flags, right? And then suddenly we'll be wondering where the hell the red flag came up. But dude, there were yellow flags all the while, and we were just busy collecting yellow flags. The red flags just happened to be like those trigger points and trigger moments.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, and at that time you just don't want to see kind of stuff, It's like, so we have learned, like I just learned to silence myself, and I realized that whatever methods emotionally, how I reacted, you see, that is the worst thing. I reacted because I noticed when I look back, I was emotionally immature. All my relationships were like trying to show me, it's like, come on, there was some form of like standing up for yourself. But then only now is like when I turned 50, I realized like, whoa, even from the time I was born, growing up in that family, my main thing was just be a doctor, just be a doctor. And like then who I was like slowly trying to emerge, but then it was quickly snuffed out by, the society, like sort of like the old timers, the so-called wise ones who will say, no, 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 as a girl, you can't do this. As a girl, you can't do that or whatever not. And then when you come to your working years, you're trying to fit in with your colleagues and with the core groups there just to belong. This is all because we want to belong. And we keep losing ourselves bit by bit by bit by bit. And then some serious relationship comes along. Even then as well, there's always some kind of giving in and compromising. And you say, just compromise. And now it's like, oh my God. And then when it came to marriage, it was completely. And then suddenly, I think I felt there was some spark, some fire happened when it was back in 2004 and we had moved to Kuwait, the Middle East. I don't know whether it's a remembrance of a past life or what it is. I was like, whoa, I love this place. And there was so much of energy that came up and a remembrance of like how powerful you can be as a person, kind of like making decisions and doing things and everything. And I loved it. We were there for 5 years. I did my Montessori course while the boys were there, things like that. Meet friends and just totally loved that whole vibe where I felt like, whoa, I feel like I'm me kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I realized that being in that space in the Middle East, like something started up.
Do you feel like you have some past life connection there?
Oh my God, my past lives and my whatever regression, I've done it. It's like, it's like a nomad lifestyle. Yeah, I like really huge. Middle East is something very different for me.
Because I have a very similar connection. That at that point of time, I didn't know anything about it. But I very, very I resonate a lot with the Spanish culture. Yeah, a lot. Like I feel so much of connection to the Spanish culture. And then when I was in Spain in 2018, I felt like I was home. And then early this year, while I was doing an intuitive massage, this guy was doing an intuitive massage and he can sense things and he's intuitive. And then I was talking to him about walking the Camino de Santiago. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. Yeah, okay. So I was telling him about it, and then we were just chatting and all. And then he said he had a flash that in my, like a past life flash of me that in my previous life, I had some sort of Celtic connection.
Whoa.
So that's why I never, I for the longest time, I never felt like I belong here. Never. I always felt very belong whenever I'm in Europe, especially in Spain.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing, isn't it? All of us had our past lives in places, and what they would call that, like we leave fragments of our soul behind in this place. Yeah. And I feel like some of us do the journey to cargo and okay, let's get back those fragments.
Yeah. And then sometimes it just feels like deja vu, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, why does it feel like I've been here? When you see some people, their vibes and it's like, why do I feel like I know you? Because I believe that we are all spiritual beings just in this physical body temporarily, and eventually we'll just move on to our next phase or whatever, right? Our next journey.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Is like, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So that's why going through the relationship and going through the marriage and deciding to say, okay, this is the end of it and moving on, I felt like this is a progression. It's never a regression or anything. It's a progression because we are intuitive. And especially being a woman and being so, connected to the cycle of life and everything with nature and things like that. So when I started getting like sort of like collecting back my fragments from like going for visits to, especially like I'm also like a huge Celtic believer because I did the UK, Ireland, and Scotland. It was all to like bring back fragments because I was so drawn to that places and everything. And that's why I'm so thankful. Like during the time I was in that marriage, we traveled a lot. We really traveled, and I was always guided like, okay, these are the places we go to and go for a long drive or whatever. But now I realize what it was. It was to all bring back like these fragments of my soul. And now I don't feel like there's a calling for me to go there. And, it feels like a lot of the things that I've done, it was just to bring it back. And I had to finish off with that relationship because it was a karmic connection with my ex, a karmic connection for many lifetimes. And each lifetime, we didn't have that courage to say, okay, this is it and all that. So in this lifetime, okay, I find that it was the time. I mean, no timing is right timing. You just
I believe every time is the right time. It's whether we make out of it or not.
yeah, exactly. Whether you wanted to jump into like vision and all that. So, I really felt there was so much of divine support and everything. So I just went. Of course, there will come moments I make the right decision and whatever not. It comes up, and we have to honor that. We have to honor the grief. We have to honor the fact that we put so much into this relationship. So when I look at it, I said, what came out of it were two beautiful boys.
Always.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing, my two beautiful. Also the ability to also travel. And I'm such a nomad. I loved it. I was traveling and I was like, you asked me to get onto a flight. I'm like so happy and just planning everything. And I loved planning all our family trips and everything. So it allowed me to experience that as well. So whenever anyone asks me, it's like, oh, was it really bad? I say, no, I'm not focusing on the bad at all. I'm not focusing because there were so many blessings in it. Yeah. So many blessings in that. And the relationship with my ex was like, he was my like really good friend before that, before we got married and everything. But somehow like the universe really guides you to this particular person because he had gone off and I was with another relationship. He was another relationship, but somehow it brought us back to meet again and take this journey together and have these two boys. So I felt like, okay, those are the lessons that we had to go through and everything. And so to take that step takes a lot of courage.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, I will have to tell people this like, it was just not a sudden decision. It just comes and you have to sit with it and you really have to trust that the universe has your back because no one around you, no one, they can get support, they can do whatever it is, but you have to take that.
I like when you were talking just now, when you were saying like, you just have to trust yourself and do it. You know what came up on my mind? I'm not sure if you heard of this quote. Like I love quotes. I'm a quote junkie, so I love quotes. But I'm not putting in the right words. But there's a story about birds, right? When a bird is on a branch, something about it. It's not about the bird's faith on the branch that it will not break, but the faith on its own wings.
Yes.
So that was what running through my mind as you were sharing your story and telling like how you learned to trust yourself, because I think a lot of times we don't trust ourselves.
Yeah.
But if only we can learn to silence the noise and trust ourselves, wow, the magic that happens. But at that point of time, it will seem like, why is life so unfair to me? I'm such a good person. Why does this have to happen to me? You will have all sorts of things, right? But when you look back on like an overview on a satellite, hindsight, as you say, right? It's like, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
For you, how did you learn to trust yourself and your intuition? Have you always been that way, or it's something that you actually learned to grow?
I think intuition has always been there, but I never trusted it. That's why you never notice the red flags end up with the relationships that sort of like instead of uplifting you, they're sort of like that's the lessons that we come up with. But yeah, intuition definitely only the last few years that I've been like really trusting. Like it takes me whenever I need to shift homes or whatever it is, I would actually sit down and I did this experiment. Like I
What do
needed
you do?
for my previous apartment, and what I did was like, okay, let me try pausing it. I started contacting. I gave my notice, 2 months notice, and then I started contacting all the agents and whatever not. And I realized, oh my God, some of the agents are really weird and stuff. Nothing was happening. I went to look at places that drained the energy out of me. Oh my God, some
Because you're trying to make things happen, you were desperate trying to make things happen,
yeah.
and you were swimming upstream instead
Upstream.
of
Yeah, it's just that. So what I did was a month down to, I was like, no, this is not happening. So it's not working. So let me sit quietly. Let me sit quietly. Suddenly this person remembering this particular agent. And I said, oh, let me contact him. It's just a matter of like, okay, then I messaged him, do you have this, places in this location with this budget and whatever not? He said, yeah, I have in one Terra in Desert Park City. I'm like thinking, Desert Park City? I love this neighborhood. And we had a look at the apartment. It's brand new. Met the owner, was a young owner. And yeah, and I got in and I've like been living here for a year and a half now. So I'm like in this beautiful private neighborhood with a lake close by and people take their dogs out for a walk, and it's a safe neighborhood. And I'm like, yeah, so I should just trust.
yeah.
It's like how I trusted staying back in India for that lockdown. I said, it's something is here for me right now. And I just don't know. I couldn't see, of course, further down the path. At this moment, it's saying, I stay there. And
Yeah.
and people were like, when are you coming back? I said, why do I want to come back? You're all still in lockdown. Here I am in paradise. It was nature. You have the Himalayan mountains and everything. So I just realized the moment I trust my intuition, it doesn't look practical on paper, but it just leads you to the right space, that you meet the right people. And also, all of a sudden, it's like you find like why that things were so quiet for a while. Like because I live on my own, so I have a lot of alone time. So there was this huge couple of years where like nothing much is happening. Nothing much. I'm like thinking, okay, something should be happening, but then nothing's happening. And then I came across this year was like family constellation. And I'm like, whoa, because I'm so much into ancestral healing. I'm so much into healing the maternal, paternal, whatever that's going on. And then I come across family constellation and I started saying like, okay, this connects, this resonates. This is what's exciting me now, right now. So yeah, so whenever I trust that inner voice, wow, the world opens up in a huge way for me.
I wish many people know that, because a lot of times people think that I'm asking, but I'm not receiving the answer. They think that intuition screams at you, but no, it's the devil that screams at you. Don't do that. It's dangerous. Are you sure you are doing it? You're not good enough. All sorts of that chatter and noise is louder. But the intuition, it's so subtle and it comes like almost like a wisp. It just comes and go.
Yeah.
Up to you. You want to pick it up? You pick up. You don't want to pick up? It's up to you.
Yeah.
So it's something that you really need to pay close attention. Totally agree.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I find that a lot of people are so disconnected from their own body. We're so disconnected from the heart. We're so disconnected from the body. Everything is done mechanically, right? The time you wake up, the alarm goes off, you set the alarm at the worst possible sound ever. And then you get out of bed, you do everything in a mechanical way. But I believe like what you're saying is right. Everyone's evolving, some awakening is happening. And people are realizing it's like, I can't live this life anymore. That's why that's exploration is happening as well. And I find a lot of people are trying to find a way to like, there has to be more to life. There has to be more. And I find that the younger generation do show some glimpse of like, see, this is how life can be. These digital nomads or whoever that they're doing. My God, I look at them and I'm like thinking, whoa, you guys are like really setting the path. You're like paving the way for the old timers to look at like how the old businesses, the old way of living is slowly dying. It's actually slowly dying. It's just that some of us are grasping onto it and trying to hold on to the old ways. Well, some of us are like bringing the new. Is like, there's something different that's happening. And of course, in the world of polarity, there'll always be that light and dark, and you decide. Like we all decide where we want to sit in. And I know that's the toughest part. So I think that's why they say, oh, intuition is not practical. I say, no, this is the most practical.
We are human beings. We are all born with it. It's whether it comes out of us or not. It's whether we choose to this. We all listen. Remember, there are times when you do something and then it went wrong, and it's like, shit lah, I knew I shouldn't have done. That is intuition, simply put, right? People think intuition is like some woo thing, I need to have some bolo above my head or some angel wing. No, bro, it's just literally like having that shit. I knew I shouldn't have done that. It's just that thought. That is intuition.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. And most of them are so afraid to hear it, because what happens, it takes you away from like when we do, like with meditation, they talk about mindfulness and awareness and everything. Of course, the ego is always there. Ego is there to keep us safe in some instances. But a lot of us have the ego as the master, dictating our terms, dictating what we do with life and everything. But imagine maybe the moment you say like, okay, you had your say, now just stay there. And then we have this intuitive, and it comes up at the most bizarre moments. It's like I'll be having a shower. Wow. Some light bulb moment. I'll be walking.
Most of my light bulb moments when I'm in the toilet pooping or showering, because I'm so relaxed.
Exactly.
So many times. And recently I started having the habits of actually writing down my dreams. So because I don't remember my dreams much, so nowadays my book, I try not to have my phone, because my phone is always across me, so that I have to literally wake up to turn off my alarm, so that I will wake up, so I don't snooze. I try not to have that snooze habit. So I have a pen and a notebook. So lately I've been just, when I wake up, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, like 3-4 o'clock, and I remember instantly, I'll just write it down. And then there are times when I'm lazy to write it down. I'll be like, it's okay. It's so clear, you will remember when you wake up. And then when I wake up an hour later, I'll be like, shit, what did I dream? Crazy.
It's true. So there's so many ways that like the inner voice talks to us. There's so many ways. So there's like, so that I know people like to say it's woo-woo and stuff like that, but I say the ones who say that it's woo-woo, because there is a certain fear in them. Say that, what if this is right?
Your intuition never lies to you.
Yeah.
Catch you right smack in between your demons. It tells you the bullshit that you don't want to hear.
Yeah. I actually, that's the thing, isn't it? You don't want to hear it, and you think this is the way to grow it. And a lot of them give the power away to someone they feel like he's a master. He's like this channeler, or he's this tarot card reader who's like fantastic. Yeah. I mean, initially when you're starting out, it's nice to have guidance. It's nice to say, at the end of the day, you have to bring the power back to you. You have to trust.
Yeah.
And that is what so many people have an issue, because trusting themselves. And then they think like, oh, this person betrays me. I say, yeah, because you don't trust yourself. And then you invite this energy in, and you have all this betrayal and this mistrust, distrust, and whatever goes around you. And don't you feel like that's part of your energy? And they get so upset.
Yeah, it's true. I believe that, and only because I've also experienced it myself, I believe that you will keep attracting the same thing over and over again until you bloody hell learn your lesson.
Yeah.
So many times, I attract the same kind of people. I go through the same kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is it until I was honest enough to actually tell myself, like, you know what, you haven't learned your lesson. And until you learn your lesson and you start, just putting things in place, drawing your boundaries, saying no more, just being true to yourself. You don't have to be true to anybody else. Be
Yeah.
true to yourself. The right people will always come.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one. That's a big
Yeah.
one because what happens is it takes you away from a spot and you're on your own.
Yeah.
Everyone, they look at solitude. Sometimes they ask me, "What alone? You don't live with your sons? You don't feel lonely?" I said, "Are you kidding me?"
The best.
Yeah, I said, "Do you realize that yes, you have to sit with your thoughts. You have to sit with all those conditioning and the programming that comes up." He got like going like, "Oh shit!" It's like, "Whoa, look at where I have given my power away. Where have I given where have I not drawn a healthy boundary? You know?" So all this and the fact that it's been almost 6 years since my divorce. I have not dated because I've realized that every single time in a relationship, I lose myself. So what is my relationship within me? So I started exploring that. It's like, what does it mean to be good to myself, kind to myself? What does it mean to take care of myself? Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing, especially with women, because that's been a lot of like brainwashing saying that, oh, once you have kids, and then now it's like, oh, the kids are older, try to pester them to get married, then they have kids, and you would want to. I'm like, it's a vicious cycle.
Exactly. It doesn't end. Someone has to break it. And I believe, like, for yourself, for your family, for your generation, you were the chosen one by your ancestors and all. Like you said, right? You heard them saying, like, we didn't do it. You got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. There's a lot of healing that's happening right now. And I realized that the traditional family system does not work anymore. Does not work anymore. So everyone's like, oh, blood thicker than water. I said, no, you misinterpreted the whole thing because now someone has come out as the blood of the covenant that is the thicker than it. It's like in the community that we. So it's like family doesn't need to be someone you're blood related to. Family could be the ones who are the ones that uplift.
Yeah.
And I find that sometimes with friends and everything, whoa, they were the ones who like supported me and helped. But most importantly, it was my own, like I really worked on myself.
Yeah, I think that is really important. And I also wanted to touch upon grief, actually. I come to realize there's three instances that we grieve. One is grieving the person. When you lose a person, a relationship ends, you grieve. You got to grieve that part.
Yeah.
And then grieving a person whom you lost because they have passed on, right? And the third one, I believe that many people are not aware about it. Grieving the person you were, right? Because who I was a year ago, I was a totally different person. And if I didn't grieve that death of myself, that previous version, it's so hard to actually move on and embrace and just shine and open up. So, it's so important for us to actually grieve the version of us that has died.
Yeah, exactly. That needed to be, needed to go.
Yes.
Needed to go. And that's how, it's so true. You're so right about that. Nobody talks about this. Nobody, no one really talk. I think slowly some people are starting to talk about it, like, grieving for the past version of you. Acknowledging that person was there, that version of you was needed for that time.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's nothing good, nothing bad, but just to be honoring that passing of that version thing. I think that a ritual should be done. A ritual of like just letting go and saying thank you so much and letting go. So those rituals, little rituals, or writing yourself a letter saying
like a forgiveness. Yeah, you forgive yourself because most of the time we beat ourselves up. You idiot! You knew all this. Why did you? But I believe that everybody is doing the best they can with what they know. Of course, if I know better, I would have done better. The thing is, I didn't know. I just did my best. So
Exactly.
we got to forgive ourselves and just grieve that version. Okay, now what am I going to do? How
Yeah.
can I make things better?
Yeah, exactly. And just see, like, and we don't acknowledge ourselves. We don't give a pat on our back on the back, saying, "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. You've come a long way." And now I started doing that. It's like I really honor. Or when I talk to someone, I was like, you know what? I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of the journey that I've taken, the decisions that I had made, and I'm like so proud of the version that I am right now. You know, for this moment, this is the version of me. And if something comes up, whatever it is, I know how to manage it. I know how to respond with emotional issues. I sort of like understand other person's point of view. It's like having that more compassion because I'm having more compassion for myself, having more love for myself, right?
Yeah.
And
You can't give what you don't have. Why people not? So you gotta give yourself first before you can give to others. You can't fall for an empty jar, right?
No, that's the burnout aspect of actual women who are mothers and being in a relationship and everything, because everyone else comes first. And I realized I was totally burnt out, and I was starting to resent the people around me who were like draining because I didn't have time. So I really literally, while the boys were like in school and everything, I literally took time away, starting to explore my spiritual path and started going away from them and leaving them behind. And of course, I did teach them how to do their own housework for themselves and everything. So, and I started pulling away, and of course, it was a big thing for the older generation. Just like, how can you just leave your kids and go? They need you. I said, you know what, Ma, they're old enough, and like this is what I used to get. But that was also because I was feeling slightly guilty, because I still carried that programming. I still carried that conditioning that as mothers, we give up everything.
Yes.
Yeah, we give up everything. So I think that was the mold that I needed to break as well. That was a cycle I needed to break, because I could see that happening with many generations. Like the women is like always giving and giving and giving until they are so resentful and so bitter at the end.
Yeah, it's so true.
Right? They're so bitter. And I say, I don't want to be like that person. I don't want to be like, I don't know, I think I'm trying to think about my grandmothers. Although one my paternal grandmother wasn't here, she never looked happy. And then my maternal grandmother was like, also didn't look very happy. So I'm like, there's something, it's like, is this what we're looking forward to as we grow older? To become this dependent and very, what is that, dissatisfied, living in sort of like a misery or whatever. And I say, no, that shouldn't be. Let's flip this, because I have seen people who, my God, enjoy life until their 90s. And
Exactly.
and they're like, and I said, why is it only like people say, oh, that's because they're Westerners? I said, no, yeah, I've seen others like even with Asians and whatever not, and they try to like, compartmentalize, like box people in, right? I said people who like, whoa, I mean, we have women leaders who are like in their older age, and I'm like, look at that woman. What is so different about her? And what's so different about the rest of us? It's like there has to be some form of change.
Yeah.
And it's a mindset change, of course, that has to, and also to realize that, okay, these conditions, these beliefs no longer serve us.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on that actually.
Yeah.
What kind of beliefs and programming that you had to let go? And like in which point of your life, was there like a turning point in your life that you realized that, okay, these are the beliefs that I have, these are the beliefs that I have to let go?
Okay, like, wow, this is quite a lot. I think for us, a lot of us have this issue with money, because always money is the biggest. I find that it's such a big Asian thing as well, like scarcity, or
and as a taboo, you cannot talk about it. It's very private.
And you're supposed to like, okay, even if you live a comfortable life or whatever not, and things like that, you're not supposed to show off or don't tell your relatives anything, or why are you all changing your car? What is this? And I'm like, oh, evil eye and stuff like that. I say no. And as I started going on my path, on my spiritual journey, it was a revelation of how by just changing my mindset, shift and looking at, oh, evil eye, it's only if I believe in it,
Exactly.
right? If I believe in the superstitions, if I believe in this, and if I believe like, oh, money, the biggest thing was money is a root to all
Evil.
with the stuff that comes up. I would just look at my mother and say, what are you talking about? Why are you associating money with the behavior of that person? It's their behavior and the way they socialize. So why blame money for it? I mean, I started looking at money as an energy form. I looked at it, I said, I love money. I love what it brings into my life. I love the fact that it takes me around the world. It pays for certain, because it is an energy exchange.
It is.
I started looking at money in that way. But also there's that very difficult shift where, because it's such an ingrained fact, I can feel it in my root chakra right now, because that's really like so ingrained by the ancestors. And all I could recall like stories of how they came from India and how they were not doing very well there. I mean, they were rich, they wouldn't have to work in menial jobs here. So of course they had their own issues and everything. And even with my paternal grandmother, I mean, she used to save gold and take it back to India. And she apparently bought like land, like she bought half the land in her village back in India. But yet that but that living so like basic and like feeling like, oh, I should be living this way, because if I do it the other way, it'll all be taken away from me. So there was a lot of that shift, and I'm still working on it. And I'm still learning how to rewrite. It's like a rewriting and I'm like, oh, I'm using the affirmations and everything. But again, I realized that it's also feeling it. So that's why I felt like coming into this neighborhood is a very affluent neighborhood. It's a very, you have to be in a space. You can't live in a kampong somewhere and try to feel like you're affluent or anything like that, especially if most people are living there on the day-to-day. That whole energy is different. But if you're trying to shift this mindset of like scarcity and everything and about your relationship with money, there has to be a point when you have to take yourself, go have a fancy dinner, dress up, right? Dress up and just until you have that feeling, really you imbue in that, you're immersed in it, and you carry that with you constantly. Like, yes, the abundance is there and everything. So it's a work in progress.
Definitely. I think a lot of people think spirituality is a destination. No, it's literally a progress. And every time you do something, you upgrade yourself, and then you have bigger devils to tackle, and then you work on it, and then you upgrade yourself. It's a never-ending journey, but I think it's one of the most beautiful journey we can experience as human beings.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, my last question actually for you was that, what is your message to the world?
Oh, wow. Celebrate you. It's like if we go on celebrating other people, celebrating our accomplishments and everything that's on the external, but celebrate who you are and how we are all unique in a sense. There is a purpose. All of us are here. As much as sometimes I wonder, like, oh my God, what's my purpose? Maybe there's no purpose. Maybe it's just, yeah, that goes, yeah, but it's just celebrate who you are. You know, it's like, and constantly reminding ourselves, it's like, wow, look at that. It's just that going out, smiling at someone or just giving a compliment. or complimenting yourself, just looking in the mirror like, oh my God, you're such a badass. There's nothing egoistic about it. If you are not your own cheerleader, don't expect anyone else to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah, so because no one else is going to be there for you, you have to.
They can't even be there for themselves. They can't cheer for them. How do you expect them to cheer for you? So you cheer on yourself and you spread your spirit to them and being inspired by you.
Yeah.
And they will start cheering on themselves as well. And that's how I guess we change the world.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just celebrate. And I find like, go be who you want to be. That's the thing. And I think people struggle with that, but eventually you find it.
I think it's just a journey. It's just a journey.
It's a beautiful, it's up to you how you want to look at the journey and let it flow and look at all the lessons and experiences. I will never look at it as mistakes. They will always...
No, nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So I understand certain viewpoints and everything. And I said, go find something that really resonates. What resonates? Religion may not resonate with you. It's okay. Let it go. Go and explore something else. Go and look at something else. Just keep on exploring and keeping yourself curious. Yeah. Keep yourself curious. I think that is the biggest thing that ages a person when they lose your curiosity.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, so always be curious. That's true as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sandhya, for sharing all your experiences. I love having this kind of conversations because it makes me see things differently and also accept other people's perspective. And I think stories are how we as human beings, we relate to each other. And more people are actually being more open these days. And thanks to COVID, I think the best thing that came out of COVID was like people started showing who they are and their struggles. And then other people see them and like, okay, I'm not weird. Right? I'm not the only one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you so much for having me. I love this.
Thank you. It's my honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this soul-enriching episode of Spatial Sarah, the podcast that brings back the beauty of meaningful conversations. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I invite you to carry the inspiration from these campfire-worthy conversations into your daily life. Embrace the power of connection, open your mind to new ideas, and continue exploring the depths of our own thoughts. Share this episode with someone you know will benefit. Follow and tag me on Instagram at @IamSarahSammy, #CampfireWorthyConvo. Until next episode, keep dreaming, keep connecting, and keep embracing the magic of meaningful conversations. Signing off, your spatial buddy, Sarah.